What's going on, football fans? It's Champ coming at you from the bomb shelter. We're going to do a little recap on week 2. We'll be recapping fantasy players, recapping game scores, how the game went, game flow, predictions, and then we'll also be recapping which teams covered the spread. So we'll start off here with New Orleans Saints, New York Giants. A few things to take away from this game. I think the Giants showed in week 1 that their defensive line was pretty good. They held Ezekiel Elliott, who is supposed to be a really good explosive running back this year, behind that number 1, in my opinion, in the NFL, Cowboys offensive line. And then they come out against the Saints and hold them to 13 points when the Saints, we saw that barn burner against Oakland last week, so we know they can put up points. Saying that, we also know that Drew Brees struggles on the road, especially outside. That game was outside, so I didn't expect a whole lot out of Drew Brees. The 53-point over was actually, I feel like, a wildly played play this week because the line opened up and it kept dropping. So I feel like a lot of people lost on that over, just expecting another, Eli Manning, Drew Brees, barn burner. Fantasy aspects, Colby Fleener is droppable. We saw last week how many passing plays they had, and Colby Fleener was, non-existent. And then week 2, Colby Fleener, Drew Brees dropped back 49 times and threw in the numbers really well, which should be where Colby Fleener would excel, in between the numbers. And there's a stat from Pro Football Focus. He threw like 1 of 10 passes over 10 yards, but in between the numbers, he was most efficient, and he had the 88-yard touchdown to Willie Snead. So you would think that Colby Fleener would be able to show up, but as of now, you can't just keep him as a roster spot just because of potential when he's had two goose eggs. So I think, with what's potentially out there, Gronk's not in, and I even think when Gronk is in, Martellus Bennett is going to be a big factor this year, and he should be a tight end that's on your waiver wires if you're in a normal 10-team league. And then Victor Cruz is going to be a good flex play this year. Week 1 you thought, you hadn't seen a lot from Victor Cruz previous year after the injury, and he gets the touchdown week 1, and you're like, can I trust that? Can I trust that? But after the targets that you saw and the 90 yards that he got, especially in PPR, I don't think he'll have a touchdown every week, and I think just because of game flow, it kept a low score, but I don't think the Giants are only going to be scoring 16 points every week. That's just a hint. When you have, players like Eli Manning, Victor Cruz, and OBJ, who's to see Victor Cruz drawing those number 2 cornerbacks and definitely catching a lot of balls the rest of the season. I think the craziest takeaway from this is actually that the Giants did not cover the spread. I think it opened up at 6 in some places, I think at the highest. And my last line was 4, and I actually kind of liked the Giants -4. But as you see, they won by 3. So the spread was not covered. We're going to move on to one of the other morning games, the Lions-Titans. I could have called this. The play was there for the Lions. I didn't like it. I saw what they did against the Colts, but the Titans' defense is a real deal, in my opinion. I think they've gotten a lot better on the defensive side of the ball. The Lions just always find a way to lose, man. It's like I feel terrible for them. They went up big in the first half, and they were up 12-3 and went up 15-3, and then they scored 13 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. And credit to Marcus Mariota. Delaney Walker shows up. That's going to be – I think he should have a big fantasy year. Week 1 wasn't that good for him. He gets a touchdown this week. He's going to be Marcus Mariota's bailout. That's pretty much it. Obviously, the line didn't cover with the upset at Lions Ford Field, so we can move on to Cowboys-Redskins. This was actually the play that I really liked. The Cowboys were a 3-point favorite. Kirk Cousins looked awful last week. Kirk Cousins looked awful this week. If you were starting Kirk Cousins, that's going to be my fantasy takeaway from this game. Kirk Cousins can be on your bench, as far as I'm concerned. The way Jim Tan Laundry Garoppolo's throwing the ball around, now he's hurt, which is kind of bad, but just saying that the amount of quarterbacks that are actually putting up numbers that shouldn't be compared to Kirk Cousins, their $1 million man that they just paid all this money for. Dak Prescott obviously is the real deal as a rookie. I don't know what leads the future of Tony Romo. I mean, I don't see if Dak Prescott keeps winning. I know Week 1 was a tough loss for them, but I mean, he kept them in the game, and the Giants' defense is just considerably better than the Cowboys' defense. I don't really think you can put that on Dak Prescott when your rookie quarterback comes in and you scored 20-plus points in a game and still lose. I mean, you gotta get something out of your defense and a hold. But we see the Cowboys' defense been not break versus the Redskins and get that red zone end zone interception. And then Dak gets the long drive for the very suitable Alfred Morris touchdown. And another thing to take away is Alfred Morris is going to start getting touches. I mean, he looks good compared to Ezekiel Elliott, like really good, like explosive. At the beginning of the year, he was a big sleeper for me in deep fantasy leagues. I had mentioned wanting him, and somebody had told me to, think about McFadden and all this and that, but I even think, it's going to be the Ezekiel Elliott, Alfred Morris show, especially third down situations. I feel like they're going to give Alfred Morris the more screenplay and that kind of stuff. So the Cowboys do have the upset on the road, which was pretty exciting. Dolphins-Patriots game. I really think this was the most predictable game of the weekend. I mean, I think what really made this game less predictable was the fact that Garoppolo got hurt, had to go out. The Patriots are a good defense this year. They put up big numbers week 1, and they played really well this game. And I think what people, if you didn't watch the game flow was Patriots spanking the Dolphins. Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. Patriots hand the ball off, really short passes, get a lot of 4 and outs. Patriots defense is just on the field for a long time, and that kind of got the trash time points. Patriots did cover the spread. Man, it's crazy to think that the Patriots could be, 3 or 4-0 when Tom Brady, or 3-1 or 4-0 when Tom Brady comes back. But maybe after Garoppolo getting hurt, they could drop the next 2 and it'll be 2-2. But we'll see. The craziest game of the week, obviously, was the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns scored three unanswered touchdowns. Get a extra point blocked, run back for a 2-point conversion for the Ravens, 20-2, and then the Ravens score 23 unanswered points to come back and beat the Browns at home in their home opener. So Callen's in the game. The Browns have a better chance to win than when RG3's in the game. RG3 is just not as good as a quarterback, in my opinion. That being said, I don't think the Browns defense can stop anything, like anything. So the Ravens just were snafuing in the first half, came back, looked a little bit like the Ravens. Joe Flacco is going to be an average quarterback this year. He just always seems to be average. I don't really have any fantasy takeaways from this game. Corey Coleman, is he a fluke? I don't know. I'm not going to make a call on Corey Coleman until next week. I had him on my bench. He scored 22 points. If I would have actually started him, I would have won. But who would have known Corey Coleman would have had 22 points this week? But after next week, I'll be able to kind of give a little bit more of my opinion on him, see if that wasn't just a fluke, or maybe with McCown in, he's that much better. So the Browns did cover. It opened at like 6.5. I think it ended at like 5. No, opened at like 7. I think it ended at like 6.5. And the Ravens with the 5-point win. Moving on to San Francisco and the Panthers. I can't believe that the line was 13 and the Panthers covered. I almost played this. I'm still kind of glad I didn't. I would have had a heart attack watching San Francisco come back and score all these points in the fourth. One thing you can take away from this fantasy-wise is that San Francisco is going to score points. Chip Kelly is going to score points. Whether or not they're trash points or defense is not as good as Carolina, and they're going to get some scores this year. I like Carlos Hyde. I was really suspect about not starting him this week versus Carolina. It really didn't matter because my other option was Jonathan Stewart, and he terrible. I don't understand how 2 running backs playing each other could just both not have that good of a game. But yeah, like I said, Chip Kelly's offense is going to move the ball, and that's a good thing. So Buccaneers, Cardinals. This was the trap of the week, in my opinion. A lot of people thought that the Buccaneers were going to cover this 7-9 point spread, even at some places. After the Cardinals got embarrassed, I didn't see that happening. So you don't get embarrassed on national primetime and then go home to lose to the Buccaneers, no matter how good Jameis Winston looked on week 1. We can move on. I think I skipped one of these. Yeah, Bengals, Steelers. This was my lock of the week for the first half. Steelers were a 2-point dog for the first half. They end up only up 3 in the first. Game flow in the first half to the Bengals kept hanging around, and if it wasn't for a good play from the Steelers rookie cornerback, I think second cornerback, the Bengals would have scored a touchdown. Andy Dalton put a good ball, and he just got up and tipped it right over Antonio Brown's head. So that play pretty much saved me my lock of the week, which thank you for that. The Steelers do cover. They covered in the first, and they covered in the game. I can see myself riding the Steelers all year. I think their money line is going to be good. Parlaying the Steelers late in the year with their money line and the Patriots money line. It's going to be big plays, big easy pickups. Might not be good odds, but I mean, it'd be good wins. So let's go on to the Rams Seahawks. I think everybody kind of predicted this. Not necessarily that the Rams were going to win, but that the Seahawks weren't going to cover the spread. The Rams have played the Seahawks exceptionally well. I think they've won 5 out of the last 6 or 5 out of the last 7 against the Seahawks. They just have their number in the division. That being said, the Rams are still terrible. Jeff Fisher's still terrible. I don't know how he hasn't lost his job. I think he's been like 8-8 for like the past 10 years. Russell Wilson came into this game not very healthy. First game in, I want to say 18, he broke his consecutive touchdown passing record. He was the highest consecutive touchdown active game passer in the NFL. So other than that, there's not a lot of fantasy things to be taken away from this. Todd Gurley, if you wasted a first-round pick on Todd Gurley, for you, because he's a running back for the St. Louis Rams. I don't know why you'd waste his first-round pick, even though he was amazing last year. It's just kind of sample and who he was at the time. You know, people weren't prepared for that. So let's move on to Falcons-Ravens. This game really surprised me. I thought the Raiders were going to dominate the Falcons at home. It just goes to show Matty Ice can still put up points. I mean, Amari Cooper is still a good wide receiver. Average results this week and the week 1 from him. Let's see what we had. They got 5 receptions, 71 yards. Yeah, David Carr just threw touchdowns to people who weren't Amari Cooper. It was just a weird situation. He had the one long one called back. Other than that, I mean, he would have had, that would have been 21 points with that long touchdown. But I think he'll still be, top 5 wide receiver this year. The volume's just going to be there. Chargers and Jaguars. This is just game played out as thought out. This was another pick for me this week. The Chargers at home in the first favorite, and I just thought that was way too low. And they were up 21-0 in the first half, and Jaguars didn't score to the fourth quarter. They had 2 touchdown touchdowns. Phillip Rivers is just going to keep this ball moving all year. I mean, you think that, Keenan Allen going down would be a big deal, but then his replacement, Benjamin, comes in and just, looks amazing. He's a big, tall, physical guy, catches 2 touchdowns, and I think the Chargers are going to keep rolling. They had that week 1 to Kansas City beat them, but Kansas City just kind of does that to teams. They kind of stick in and stick in and stick in. Kansas City really doesn't blow people out. In Arrowhead, you'll see some big wins, but as you saw in Houston, they were in it till the end there. So they just snuck back on the Chargers. I think the Chargers will have a good year. I think they should be able to grab a wild card spot. The Broncos look like they're going to win that division. The Chargers covered, and that's going to be another rider. The Chargers at home this year, so We'll move on to the Broncos. Man, this surprised me how point spread. I thought the Colts were just going to be better, but the Broncos defense is still the real deal. The real deal. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. You saved the game pretty much late in the fourth quarter with some defensive turnovers, and the Colts got 0-2, man. Jim Irsay. This could be karma because Jim Irsay was the one who really, really pumped up all the deflate gate, and it's kind of crazy how the Colts are 0-2 and the Patriots are 2-0. Not that I'm a Patriots fan, but it's amusing. If you listen to Bill Burr probably laugh about that. He hates Jim Irsay too. I don't like Jim Irsay. He's a big whiner. So last game of the day was Packers-Vikes. The Vikings defense, they're a big time defense. At home, this is going to be a great team. They go 2-0. Sam Bradford looked good. He's coming in. Man, he took that big hit, and his hand was disgusting looking. I don't know if you saw pictures. That's not normal. That's like contused right there. That white is like a scrape, maybe, from a helmet, like pushing it in. But yeah, it's bubbled up. I don't know, man. It kind of looks like his blood vessel. I don't know if it ruptured up something, but there's fluid, or I don't know. He went and took an X-ray, but they didn't say much afterwards. He stayed in the game and threw a touchdown and don't cover the spread. And they notoriously have not covered the spread, and I don't know why, but I always like the Packers, and they beat me up last night. And so, I just thought I don't trust the Packers covering points this year. I mean, their offensive line didn't look that good versus a good Minnesota defense, and they're going to play a lot of good defenses this year. It's not like the Packers have an easy schedule. So, that being said, Jordy Nelson is Jordy Nelson, and he's got 2 games of 2 touchdowns this year, and you're happy to have him on your fantasy team if you do. Other than that, let's go on to preview tonight's game. We have Monday, September 19th, Eagles visiting the Bears. I'll give you a pick for tonight's game. Jay Cutler under 20 completions. I could see a big at-home meltdown with Jay Cutler. So I think I'm going to come back on Thursday and give my picks before the game. Give some fantasy advice for the week. Some DFS, some daily fantasy advice. If you guys play DraftKings or FanDuel, any of that stuff, or Daily Yahoo. And then I'm going to do a pick'em, pick 2 teams against the spread, and probably a parlay, 2 or 3 team parlay. So be looking for that on Thursday. See ya.